Welcome to Off the Record Election Special. As you can see, two of the OTR hosts are here. The other two, they don't vote, so that's why they didn't show up. No. Let me tell you, I think they vote. I don't know,
They
but
pro they protesting these lines and shit right now with the with the count of the ballots.
man. So I'm looking at CNN right now. They talking about Biden is up 253 to 213, but some other outlets already got him at 264. So I think they're already counting Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, he's up 15,000 votes in Pennsylvania. And if he gets Pennsylvania, that's 20 electoral votes. He wins the presidency. He's up in Georgia by only about 1,500 votes. And then he's up in Arizona by about 40,000 votes. But at least in Pennsylvania and Georgia, all the remaining votes they expect to be heavily Democrat. So my question to you is, are you surprised that he's going to win this thing? It was looking shaky bakey Tuesday.
Yeah, it was. I mean, so it always start like that, right? Like it always start a little iffy or whatever the case may be. Now, it did start super iffy in 2016, but we were all like, "Yo, ain't no way he gonna win this shit."
Right.
But if you, I mean, you can get tested this. If you remember the conversation that me, you, and Brandon had, and I was telling Brandon, like, yo, Trump, that late in the game, making a trip to Georgia, told me
He was shook.
he was shook. And he didn't feel that him and his team didn't feel comfortable that they had Georgia in hand. Georgia, known to typically be a red state, that told me a lot. Then I also predicted that, I felt that it was going to be a blowout. And ultimately, like it seems, because everything's stalling, and then on election night, everything seems super close, but ultimately, it's going to end in a blowout. If he wins what he looks like he's going to win. If he wins Georgia, if he pulls PA, if he pulls Arizona, he pulls Nevada, it's going to be a blowout. So I'm not surprised, yo. I think people woke up. I think our people, we came out in droves, man, especially in Atlanta. Shout out to Atlanta. Shout out to the people in Detroit.
Man, let's start with Atlanta, man. Like, one, shout out to Stacey Abrams, because one, she should be the governor of Georgia, but we know that it didn't go her way. But Stacey Abrams, she organized Georgia in a way that Biden is about to flip that from red to blue. And someone said this, and I want to make sure I say it correctly. Stacey Abrams just told all of America that the South is not red, it's unorganized. You imagine if someone like her goes into Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, does what she did for Georgia? Because the reason why Georgia has flipped, it's really because of the black counties, Atlanta, DeKalb County, like Fulton County.
Yeah.
And same with Pennsylvania, same with Michigan. All the black areas is what's winning Biden the vote.
So you remember when she ran for governor, you remember when it seemed like the party itself and then people itself, even black folks, it seemed like they kind of turned their back on Stacey Abrams.
I've got my thoughts on why they did that. I'll share them in a moment.
Yeah, it was like a feel like they felt like she flubbed that election, right? And lo and behold, she has a major part on Biden flipping Georgia blue, which is crazy. And now this is probably going to springboard her. It should.
Oh yeah.
She should have a choice at what she want to do. If she want a cabinet role, she should have that. If she wants to be the DNC chair, she should be in line for that. She should be able to pick what she want to do. But yeah, man, I mean, it's just amazing. Like I got a couple thoughts and a couple feelings on, the black vote, how much it's worth, how it pulled out a lot of these situations. And I know Q been in the in the media lately with his comments, and I think he kind of went about it the wrong way, the way that he portrayed it or pushed those out there. But I think this election is also showing the true value, and I hope that we realize how valuable our vote is, and I hope that this now puts us at those tables ahead of time in those elections. My problem with Q was like, yo, why wait then? Why wait till it's almost time? It's almost go time. Like, yo, let's start these conversations now. Like, once this election ends, let's start these conversations now. So that 4 years from now, whoever's there or whatever's happening, it's already in play. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, it's still a stressful election to me because it's still, I see all this shit popping up with PA and the judges and all of that shit. But hey, I think it at the least it was entertaining. It's entertaining. It's stressful but entertaining.
Yeah, look, the reason why Trump jumped out ahead this particular election cycle is because Republicans went and voted in person because he was telling people don't trust mail-in ballots, and so he told his constituents go to the polls. Republicans think that the coronavirus is a hoax, so they actually physically went. Joe Biden, Democrats believe that the coronavirus is real; it's a threat. Mail in your ballot if you lived in a state where you could do that at. And so, election night, Trump jumps out, but then all of a sudden, the next couple of days, all these mail-in ballots are coming in, and it flipped the script, And so, look, I've had to block a lot of people on social media already saying, it's sad that black people think that Biden is going to be their savior. And here's the thing. It is not about Joe Biden being Black America's savior. If all Joe Biden does is get rid of the coronavirus, that's a damn win. If that's the only thing he does right. But if he does that, if he if he comes up with a better tax bill, if there's smaller things that he can do, if he raises minimum wage at the federal level, he just does little things. Like there's way more that has to happen for black people to get their fair share in this country. Biden is not the black savior. Obama wasn't that either. And he's a black man. But if Trump would have gotten, or if Trump gets another 4 years, look how he's behaving and losing. He's throwing a temper tantrum. A 70-year-old man in the White House is throwing a temper tantrum because he's losing. And
not only that, the most powerful man in the world. This is the leader of the free world acting like that. It's just not. It's just not a good look.
Here's the thing with him. One, so when ex-presidents, they still keep a security, top secret security clearance. They still get briefed every day because they meet with foreign dignitaries. So the question with him is Barack, the Bushes, Jimmy Carter, they do their thing, but they largely are quiet, right? When they meet with people, they're fairly quiet. Trump is not going to be quiet outside of the White House. And so the federal government's going to have to make a decision. How much are they going to really share with this ex-president? Because once he's a regular citizen again, God knows what he's going to be saying then.
Right.
And then to that point, Republicans have to decide moving forward, are you going to embrace him and be like the party of Trump, or go back to being Republican, even though Republicans are trash regardless? Are you going to be the Republicans or be Trump's party?
Right.
And I don't know if they even know what they want to do yet. I suspect what's going to happen is, as we're seeing in Michigan, Georgia, and other areas when they're throwing out his ridiculous lawsuits, what's going to end up happening is once they confirm Biden as the president-elect, Mitch McConnell and all them folks are going to tell Trump, hey, you screwing up the money. You got to go. You can't mess up our money. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I think it's going. I mean, I think it's going to split the party early on, at least. I think you got some who are supporters. You know what I mean? And then I think you got some, and I think McConnell is one. I think McConnell, you're starting to see things with him, and even you read between the lines in some of his statements that he's released since all of this. It's kind of like he feel like, yo, it's over, bro. So I really don't gotta, he's one of those, McConnell is one of those dudes that he gonna rock with you if you're a part of his party just because that's what he is. So it felt like he was doing what he was doing because they were the same affiliation. But it feels like they're slowly but surely starting to separate themselves from them as we speak. So it'll be interesting to see, man, because Trump already talking about he's going to be around. He's going to make a run in 2024.
You see, he said he's going to launch his own TV network.
Yeah, yeah.
To go head to head with Fox, and like Laura Ingraham and them have already said they were going to go. If he does a TV network, it's going to be a shit show.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just about to be interesting. But as I tweeted, and I wish I'd have pulled it up so we could put it up. But as I tweeted on Tuesday morning, are y'all ready for this shit show? And it's living up true to form. It's still a shit show. We've been stuck on the numbers that we see now for the last 2 days.
Yep.
It's like, yo. And
he's behaving the way that they said a black man would act in office. Like the way Trump is acting, he's acting real ghetto, right? He's the kind of person, like I know you've looked at homes and like you look at a foreclosure and it's all messed up and they put somebody out. He reminds me of that type of person. Kick holes in the wall, piss on the floor, clog the toilets.
Yeah. The fact that the Biden, I don't know if you saw the statement, but the fact that the Biden team had to say, listen, if it came down to it, the government is more than capable of putting somebody out of the White House.
Yeah,
the fact that has to be said is like, all right, like
listen, dog. When I saw this morning when they said the secret, like I think it was earlier today. And the Secret Service had already increased their presence around Joe Biden, and they declared his personal house, like the flying space around it, off limits. I said, oh, yeah, they already know something. They know. Yeah.
I mean, even down to they saying that, Trump's advisors, his team, they don't want to tell him. Like, nobody wants to tell him. Like,
you see some of them already looking for a new job?
Yeah.
They said that's going on.
Nobody wants to tell him, like, yo, it's over. You know what I mean? And I don't know, man. It's just it's interesting times. But you know what? The way people are acting, the way he's acting, the way his supporters are acting, it's just awful, awful, awful ironic. Like, it's no different in their actions right now off of this than what they accused us of doing and how we act when they say we out here, or what they call rioting, when with the George Floyds and all of that stuff, protesting against police brutality and those type of things. The way they say that we act or how we look or what they don't understand why we acting like that, it's the same thing. To me, this is a clear case of those people who never witnessed privilege. This is it right here. The way his supporters are acting right now is what you call privilege. Because it's not going their way, they want to stop everything. Oh, no, we got to stop this. Let's recount everything. They going to these polling stations and these counting places and beating on the doors and doing all that like that. This is what you see. This is what you call privilege. This is a prime example of privilege. They're showing it right now, true in color, on the TVs, in person, live and in color. It's a shame, but it's showing out. This is exactly what that is. This is exactly what we talk about.
Dog, in Philly, a bunch of supporters got an anonymous text saying, go down to a polling station, like where they're counting and surround it and protest. They traced it back to one of Trump's campaign managers. Like, when black people are protesting police brutality, we're rioting, we're out of order, we need to go home. This is a normal election. No laws are being broken, and you're telling your people to go like storm the gates, like when they had to put the pizza boxes up in Arizona because people were trying to push up against the window.
Yeah,
Anderson Cooper made a really good point the other day. I think it was on CNN, because they were like armed Trump supporters going up to these polling places, and Rick Santorum was like, "Well, they have a legal right. They have a right to bear arms in some of these states." And Anderson was like, well, if they were black, you would be afraid. It's because they're white, you're not afraid.
Yep.
Like, can you imagine if like armed black people showed up?
Yep.
Like, it is there is a privilege. The truth is, Trump is losing. He's a troll. He doesn't like to lose. And I hope they drag his ass out. Like as much as he thinks that he can just stop everything, stop the vote. Well, first off, stop the votes in some states, but then keep counting in other states, which is ridiculous. But if he thinks that the Secret Service, the First Marine Division, or whoever else down there won't drag his ass out of there, yo.
I mean, I don't feel like. I mean, you aren't surprised how he's acting, are you?
No, of course not.
Yeah, I mean,
he's throwing a temper tantrum.
Yeah, I think he told us what he was going to do during that first debate when they asked him. When he flat out asked him, "Would you transfer power peacefully?" He didn't answer the question. He just said he automatically started that cheating shit.
Yep.
Oh, we got to make sure they aren't cheating and da 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 da. So it's crazy. I mean, it's 2020. This is 2020 for you.
Look, you've had to listen to me talk about how broke Kanye really is, and really Trump is broke too. Mike Pence has been calling around to Trump's supporters, trying to get them to donate money for Trump's legal fund to fight all these lawsuits he wants to do. And my thing is, if you're this multi-billionaire, pay your own lawsuits. If you want to charge every state with collusion and with fraud, why is Mike Pence secretly calling your supporters asking for money? You pay for
it. Well, you know what? It's funny. I'm glad you brought up Mike Pence. Is it just me, or is he awfully quiet? Should he be saying something? He's
playing both. First, he's kind of playing both sides.
Yeah.
Did you peep his tweet when he was every legal vote counted? First off, all the votes are counted. I think what Mike Pence is trying to do is let Trump act like a child. But Mike Pence Trump's career is not politics. It's
right.
real estate, right? And being a celebrity. Mike Pence is a career politician. Mike Pence has to stay in DC after this.
Right.
I think he's trying to figure out a way to make sure he can stay in politics after all of this stuff.
Right. It's just, and I saw, ironically enough, it was a black dude, but I saw, it was a video on Twitter. This guy, he was calling out other Republicans, and he was saying, why aren't they speaking out? Why aren't they fighting for Trump in this moment? And one of the people he called out was Pence. And I'm like, well, I mean, not that I agree with what he's saying right now, but I'm like, damn, Pence is awfully quiet. Now, he's not big. He was never big on the Twitterverse like Trump is. But I mean, I thought, I would expect a statement on him to say something about.
They all know he's done.
Yeah.
They know. Pence is probably looking I think Pence is trying to save face on some level also. I mean, Trump went out on national TV yesterday at the White House and claimed all these states were colluding against him, were counting unfair votes, made up votes. But you notice when he did that, Pence wasn't there, Mitch McConnell wasn't there. None of the big Republicans was even there with him. It was just his close, his family, his close supporters.
Yeah.
Yeah, they laying low. Look, man. We all know we've all had friends that, or maybe it's been us that's done something wrong, and look, you don't want to publicly shame your friend, but it's on behind closed doors. Yo, you need to chill out. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what's going on.
So let me ask you this. So we had this discussion on one of the text threads. The question was who is supposed to be. So I brought up to them how, like I said earlier, that nobody in the White House wants to tell Trump yo, it's over. So the question was, so whose job is it to tell him it's over? So who do you think should be the one to do that? Some said it was the first lady, but I said, I said the first lady already gone.
You saw that they had the Penske moving trucks down there already.
Yeah, she not in that White House. She gone. So there's somebody said Pence need to send them a text.
So it's two people, Pence or McConnell. They're the two highest ranking Republican officials outside of Trump.
Yeah.
If both of them came together and was yo, it's over. He's not going to fight the Senate majority leader and the vice president. I mean, he might fight them, but they're the two highest ranking Republicans. I mean, the funny thing is Biden's supposed to go on TV tonight, prime time. So that means he expects to win. and that's probably going to infuriate Trump. The funny part was, for like 2 days, Trump was like, he was ghost. I mean, he was on Twitter tweeting, but like no one had seen him for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so
I think Biden claimed victory tonight. I think he claims it tonight. I think he comes on, he claims victory, and then I think he then pushes the cards over to Trump to see what his next move is. Because I mean, we know he's not going to concede, right?
No, he's going to try to fight it.
Yeah, but I think it's that time to do it. You might as well get the ball running. Like, you don't make up that type of ground, especially in somewhere like PA, and continue to. You don't make up that type of ground in PA like he did in PA, and then start to lose votes. Like, that shit is over. Like, I feel like they could call PA if they wanted to, but I feel like that shit's over. Right?
They said even when you've had like recounts in different states, no more than a couple hundred votes have shifted, and that's at the max. So he's up thousands of votes in like multiple states that Trump is challenging. Trump's not going to win this election.
Yeah, he actually needs PA to win, no matter what. He needs to.
He needs PA and Georgia. He needs both of them actually,
right. But he needs at least PA to be like. So he can't lose PA and then win the rest of them and still win, because obviously if Biden wins PA, it's over. But he needs PA, and he's not going to get PA. So it's like
this is my grandmother used to say, what goes around comes around. Trump went around shitting on Philly, Baltimore, DC, Milwaukee, LA, all the major black cities he shitted on. And what's coming back to bite him in the ass? All these major black cities. So look, man, first off, moving forward, like these other states, like Florida, they did all their mail-in ballots like really quickly. These other states like Arizona, somehow they can count money and women and all this other stuff, but they can't count votes, like 1,000 votes. You have to have a better system moving forward if just in case we have to go to mail-in again post-pandemic. But also I think for the Democrats, man, I don't think they should be looking at like Biden looks at this like an 8-year thing where he's going to run again. Like Biden is really old. Right. It should be a 4-year thing. They better be getting Kamala ready. However you pronounce her name, Kamala. They better be getting Kamala ready. Mm-hmm. I feel like they need to make sure she's ready to run for president in 4 years. And then also they need to make sure they've got people around her like Stacey Abrams, like AOC, who I know a lot of people don't like, but I like AOC. Yeah. They can't wait 3 years and think Biden's going to run again, because they talk about Trump might try and run again in 2024.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I think that, I mean, it feels that way anyway. I don't know if he's come out and said that, but I think amongst his team, the feel is like, yo, this is a one-term thing for Biden himself. And then the idea is to push Kamala after that. But I agree with you. Like, this can't be looked at as an 8-year thing. They got to do this 4-year thing. And that's why the runoffs in Georgia are going to be
they're important.
Super important. So
that's gonna determine the Senate.
Yeah. So to see what the Democratic Party does in those situations, as far as funneling money, support for those two candidates out of Georgia, that's going to be huge. So I think that needs to be part of the first order of service for Biden and the rest of the party to get behind, because that's just as important right now. So that will tell a lot, and that will say a lot to what he can possibly get done in these 4 years.
Years ago, I remember being in the barbershop. Shout out to Abdul. I haven't seen him in like 9 months, but talking to Abdul, and I telling him like 9 months ago, the only person I thought that could beat Trump was Joe Biden. And that's no disrespect to Bernie Sanders or anyone else out there that was going to challenge him. Elizabeth Warren, Andrew Yang. I like Andrew Yang. But honestly, man, like sometimes you need a white dude to beat a white dude. Like that's the country we live in, right? Like another black man or a black woman or any other, a gay president, a gay candidate, any other nationality. Sometimes you just need an old-fashioned white dude to beat another old-fashioned white dude. Mm-hmm. And it sucks But that's the country we live in. And
Mm-hmm.
Biden, Biden has his own past records that he needs to come to grips with. The 94 crime bill that he was a part of. But one thing with Biden, at least he's come out and said, yeah, I screwed up. I shouldn't have did that. He can at least acknowledge. And look, it's also fair to say that who somebody was back in 1994, they're not necessarily that person in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
If Barack can trust him, I'm going to trust him. And I know all of our peers don't trust Barack, but I do. And so I had my most successful years under when Barack was in office. I suspect things will look up for me when Biden is in office. I've had some of my worst years while Trump has been in office. So that idiot needs to go. Like there's no way in the world. Mike, 68 million people still voted for this dude.
Yeah.
Talking about the fucking what? Talking about the tax bill like they're about to make $400,000 in a year.
So why are you there? Let me ask you this. The claim is that 20% of black men voted for Trump. How do you feel about that? What's your thought on that? Because, well, let me get your thought on that first, and then I'll come behind that what else I saw about this too.
So I want to dig into that. I'm actually waiting for the final number so I can find out exactly, because I think a lot of those numbers are coming from polling, which basically they take the polls and then they multiply it. So it's not an accurate number. So I'm waiting for final numbers. If indeed 20% voted for Trump, black men voted for Trump, those black men are clowns and they're voting against their own race and own self-interest. Mm-hmm. I have nothing positive to say about them. I suspect 20% did not vote for Donald Trump. I think that there is a campaign to further discredit the black man. And so I want to dig into that once we get the final numbers, because there's a lot of black women saved the Democratic Party, and black women have, and shout out to Stacey Abrams, but Democrats ain't winning without black men voting also. Like if black men are voting for Trump, Democrats aren't winning. So I want to wait for the final numbers, but if one black man voted for Trump, you are a damn clown.
Well, what I thought was interesting to coincide that is I found an article this morning that said that that election polls show white men actually turned their back on Trump over white women. So the thought was that coming into this election that white women would now, who voted in droves for Trump in 2016, would now change their mind and vote for Biden. But this article that was on in MSNBC, it said, and it's if y'all want to check it out, it's titled "White Women Didn't Desert Trump in This Election. Polls show some white men did." So I thought that was interesting for that to coincide, them saying that 20% of black men voted for Trump.
Well, so what I'll add to that is we know white female voters are a problem. Like they are a distinct problem when it comes to these kinds of elections and with Trump. So my single issue is it feels like black men always get called out. If they indeed, those black men who did vote for Trump, they should be called out. But black men as a whole, it feels like black men as a whole get called out when Latinos voting for Trump, that was up. Asians don't ever say a damn thing, right? Latinos, Asians, and white women, they voted for Trump and they don't get called out. It feels like black men specifically get called out as a whole. And that's why I feel like there's a campaign against black men that I do want to get into it once we have all the numbers. But no, white women, they are voting against their own personal self-interest for like their family self-interest. And if you're a white woman, look, you're voting for your dad to be in power, your husband to be in power, your sons to be in power, and via a dotted line, you then reap the benefits of those men being in power.
Right.
Black women, on the other hand, don't vote for black men to be in power. Black women vote for black women to be in power. And so, I said, I want to wait for the final numbers, but yeah, white women need to look in the mirror.
So let me ask you this. You said, what is it? We have 68 million people that voted for him?
Yep. Let me see if I got the updated numbers. It was 68 million as of this morning voted for Trump. So I think 74 voted for Biden. Let me see.
So with that number, I mean, shit, we know it's in somewhere between 68 and 70 million people voted for him. What do you think it is about this dude? Because that's a lot of people, yo. And it's not
69, almost 70 million voted for Trump so far.
Okay, so damn near 70 million people voted for Trump. What do you think people see in him that you and I might not see? Because I mean, that's a lot of folks. That's a lot of people,
like,
and that can't be like can we say that there's 70 million racist people?
I'm getting ready to say it. I'm getting ready to say it. All right. Let me turn my light on because I'm getting ready to say it. I want people to see my face when I say this.
Oh man.
Let me tell you what, man. I've had people say to me that they're voting for Trump. Like, people who vote for Trump, it's not because of racism. It's because of like economic reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, myself, you, everyone in our circle are considered middle class. Mm-hmm. Frankly, we're probably considered upper middle class. And I don't know anyone. We might have some Trump supporters in our circle. I would like to know who they are. But as far as
what you say? Oh, what's up? Ooh.
But look, man. My thing is, people have tried to say they vote for economic reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they vote, so they're saying if they use an economic reason, that doesn't automatically make them racist. Here's my thing. If you're voting for him for economic reasons, like, I really need to understand how much money you're making, how much assets you have, like truly what it is. But frankly, even if you've got those assets, like, we've all done well, thank God, all of us have done well. Even if it benefits me economically, it could hurt people that look like me who don't have what I have. And so I'm going to vote for the person that helps everybody that looks like me. And so furthermore, I'm going to say what you just said we can't say. If you voted for Donald Trump, you are a racist. And America is inherently racist. Like, nobody ever wants to say it. Racism in America is more American than apple pie. Like, racism is so baked into everything in America. Like, it's baked into our DNA. Like, they can try to hide it and say that it's economics, but what about all those evangelical Christians that voted for Trump that he goes against everything that's supposed to be, for Christians? Like, no, if you support Donald Trump, you support racism. Like, it is what it is. And that goes for you if you're a black person supporting him, an Asian supporting him, a Latino supporting him. You support racism. Like, come on.
That's a lot of people, yo.
Yeah, well, America's a lot of racist. like, come on, man. Like, think about every step that black people have made. Every half step we take forward, they make us go 5 steps back. Mm-hmm. Every single time. Our ancestors were freed. They bring in Jim Crow. You get rid of Jim Crow, they institute more laws. Every single time. Every time. America's racist. Like, let's just admit what it is. When you look at the map, Shanae and I were looking at the map yesterday, and I was like, you notice all the blue states border water or coastal states, and all the red states of the Midwest and the South, and like, America's racist. Like, there are white people who don't like the fact that you and I make more than they do. Mm-hmm. They think because they are white, they deserve to make more than what we make, or they should have bigger houses than we do, or they should have more opportunity than we do. Mm-hmm. No, the truth is we should have more opportunity than you because we're the ones that had to be set back 400 years. And we're still set back. So I'm going on a really long rant. It's probably the rum I'm drinking. But the truth is, America's a racist country.
So,
like, Trump got into politics by saying the first black president wasn't even an American citizen. like, yo, that was his jump into politics, and they believed it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, his appeal to black people was, what do you have to lose?
Right.
That was his appeal to black people.
Like, yo.
So while we on this topic, yo, what's next for us? What are
For
some
black
moves
folks of the country?
for black folks? Like I know, I know, like we said earlier, you got the Cubes, you got a couple of people speaking out, you got some people that also was. They didn't quite say they were in support of Trump or any other side, but they were very adamant to be against voting Democrat. Mm-hmm. There's this narrative going on that black people have voted Democrat for so long and Democrats haven't done anything for us, yada, 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 right? I don't necessarily disagree with that. But my question to anytime I see a post like that, my response is also like, so what has Republicans done?
They never say that.
Yeah,
right?
So those that's why I hate those posts, right? Because you can say either side hasn't done shit for us. So moving forward, what's next? What do we have to do to start staking our claim in some of these, or to get what is rightfully ours to close this wealth gap? I know our guy Daoud is in the chat, and we have a conversation about the wealth gap pretty often. What do we have to do? I do think that's what Cube. I do think Cube meant well with that in mind, and that's closing that wealth gap. But what's our next moves, man? What do we approach Biden and his team with to get this shit going?
Here's what's next. If Biden ends up winning the presidency, then you can't keep running to Biden to fix America. What's next is all these local elections. Right. Black people need to run for office or make sure that they know who is running and they know who to vote for. That's what's next. Because we turn out in record numbers for presidential elections and then don't turn out for local elections and then wonder why shit don't change.
Right.
As powerful as the federal government is, the state governments and your local governments have a ton of power. Like, people don't realize how much power these little municipalities have. So the next step is all this energy around the presidential election. You have to pay attention to your local elections within your individual states and cities. That is what's next. Mm-hmm. Then all this momentum that we've got right now, you run with it, right? Like, you don't wait till year 3 of Biden's presidency.
Right.
You don't wait till 2 weeks before the election like Ice Cube and some of these rappers did. Like, you have to be digging in now. Mm-hmm. That's the truth. But the bottom line is all of these elections matter, from your local alderman, your city councilman, your school boards, on up to the presidency. All of them matter. And if all we're going to do is focus on the president, then things will not change. That's the bottom line. So electing Biden is a huge start because Trump is terrible. Like, I can't express how much I dislike that man. But pay attention to your local elections. And the 50 or 60,000 that voted for Kanye West, you're idiots too. You're idiots too. Like,
easy prepping for 2024.
And he's another dumbass. Like, look, man, you can't expect change and then throw away your vote on a rapper. Mm-hmm. A rapper who lives in Calabasas, right? He don't live in Baltimore City or Compton or Atlanta. He lives in Calabasas. And good luck getting into his neighborhood if you black. Mike, I'm trying to tell you. I get so frustrated with this nonsense, man.
So what was your feel early? What was your feel election night? Did you feel like Trump was going to get this again? Did you have the election anxiety that has been going on with a lot of people over the last couple of days? Or were you cool? Did you feel like Joe was going to pull it out?
We stopped watching at like 9 p.m. and went to sleep. All right. So when Barack won, like, I was living in Owings Mills in my apartment. Shanae and I watched it together. We were still dating at that time. And it was like this uplifting feeling of like, this is nuts. A black man had won. When Trump won last in 2016, it was such a gut punch. Yeah. Like, it just felt like, yo, they really just elected the dumbest person on the planet. Like, they picked a man who has had 3 or 4 bankruptcies, 3 or 4 failed marriages, like over a woman who was far more accomplished than he was. So it was such a gut punch to me. This time around, I was just like, I'm going to bed. Now I'm going to, like, I wake up and see where it's at or whatever. And that worked for me. And so I didn't even, I thought look, I felt like then, I feel like that now, still feel the same way now, but then I was like, look, this country has enough racists that could reelect Trump. And the crazy part is, Mike, if the coronavirus didn't happen, I'm almost 100% sure Trump gets reelected.
Yeah,
that's the crazy part.
Daoud said the same thing. He said the same thing.
That shit is scary.
Yeah, he said the same exact thing. That honestly, his feel was if it was no coronavirus, that Trump would have won in a landslide.
Like that should scare people. And I'll talk about our state for a moment. I text you guys this in our thread, but for Larry Hogan has come out and condemned Trump, trying to say the election is fake and there's fraud going on. So he's came out and condemned him. Well, I'm going to take a moment on OTR and condemn Larry Hogan. You, sir, voted for Ronald Reagan in the 2020 election. Ronald freaking Reagan, a dead man. As an elected official, you should not be in the business of making a mockery of this election. You should have chosen a side. And frankly, by you voting for one of the most hated presidents in all of history by black people, a dead man at that, you voted for Donald Trump. So I don't want to hear our governor coming out condemning Trump. It's so frustrating, man. It's so frustrating that it took the worst pandemic since the Spanish flu in like the 1920s or something like that. Certainly one that we've never experienced in our lifetime, the worst pandemic ever. And this dude was still close enough to win. Racist. This country is racist.
I mean, yeah, you listen. Nothing you're saying I would argue against. It is, I guess that's the bittersweet in the situation. It's like, for not the pandemic, which is in itself some shit and something that I wish we weren't going through, we would have another 4 years of that. And it was a feel for me that I don't know if the country, it wasn't for me, but I was thinking I didn't know if the country can handle another 4 years of that. And I think Trump's appeal definitely early on was he wasn't the conventional politician. He doesn't claim to be a politician. So I think people get caught up in something being new, something being different. And he rode that wave into the office. And that's why it was crazy for us to see when he got elected. That's why it was such a gut punch for everybody, because it's like, yo, are you serious? Like, this is what we're doing now. But I think what's happened now, and I said this earlier to Daoud and some other people, what drove this election, especially early on, and why it's so close, and why it would have been what it would be, why it would have been Trump back in office if it wasn't for the pandemic, it's really the closet Trump supporters that's pushed this thing.
It's a great point.
Because there's a lot of Trump supporters out there that aren't comfortable saying they are.
That's why I tell people, stop paying attention to the polls. Trump is like that mistress. No one's going to volunteer they got a mistress.
Yeah. Yeah. It's people that we probably work with every day who will make it seem like they feel a certain way.
Quiet as kept. There might be people in our circle.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there
might be black people in our circle.
Yeah. But just by the numbers, right?
Yep.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be that way. And you know what? You vote for who you want to vote for. You know,
you're kinder than me, Mike. You've always been kinder than me.
No, I say that because that's your right. That's your given right. But my problem with it is why
you don't have the right to be stupid.
Right. But why be closet about it? I think that's bad.
I said the other day to Shanae, I was like, you know what should be public record? Who you vote for. Just like you can look up people's parking tickets and stuff in the Maryland judicial system, who you vote for should be public record. And I bet you that shit will change a lot of tunes.
You can look up people's arrest records online right now. So
right. Yeah. Like people have to publicly state who they vote for. Let that be public knowledge. Look, man. In 2016, I knew the country was racist. I knew it was racist. When people would say, well, civil rights was 60 years ago and slavery was 400 years ago. You know, I grew up in Frederick, Maryland. I've been called a nigger before. I gotten in many fights up there. I know what racism is. But I made the mistake of not realizing how much more racist America was until Donald Trump was elected. Mm-hmm. This man waged a campaign to get 5 black men who were innocent in New York convicted for raping a white woman, and they didn't do it. And he still hasn't apologized for that. Like, this is a racist country. And not only is it a racist country, there are a lot of self-hating black people out there. There's a lot of self-hating Latinos out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I see a lot of Latino folks on my timeline talking about like the differences between light and dark Latinos and how they view themselves within American society and all that. Like, there's a lot of blacks that think that money buys them into that white class. Mm-hmm. And if you ain't learned from O.J. Simpson, it don't matter how much money and fame you got, they will kick your ass to the side.
Yeah. Yeah. What you sipping on, bro?
a little bit of Appleton Rum Superior, taking me back to Jamaica. Shout out to my Jamaican brothers and sisters. They fought the good fight. I get so frustrated, man. Like, when people try to make it seem like Biden and Trump are like even, like, well, it's a toss up. No, it's really not. Like, Biden ain't perfect, but like, you couldn't have looked at these last 4 years and said, oh yeah, I want more Donald Trump. Mike, no one thought this pandemic, except for me, was going to be this bad, right? And our group of friends, who else said that this pandemic would be this bad besides me?
I can't call anybody else, yo. You tried to warn us.
Yo. Like, cast thought 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it'll go away.
Right.
This shit's going on a year. And the crazy part is I see Trump supporters saying, well, Biden is elected, he's going to make you wear a mask in your home. How?
Right.
Like, what are we doing here, man? Like, are people crazy? Like, I get so frustrated, man. I get so frustrated at this nonsense. It also goes to show you just how stupid America is. Like, I believe I read somewhere that like the average educational, the average American has a 7th grade education level. Mm-hmm. That is scary. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's like, these are the people who are picking your senators, the elected officials.
Yeah.
A 7th grade education level, the average American. Yeah, that's scary.
Is it anything you would like to see changed to the voting system as a whole? Would you like to see the electoral vote go away? And so if the electoral vote goes away, would it be solely based off the popular vote, or would you add some other system to it, or whatever the case may be?
Well, look, the electoral vote was established really to keep slave-owning states in power. That's the only reason. But the truth is, I saw the other day, the coastal states have more people living in them than all of the Midwestern states combined. Like, there's no way in the world that states like Minnesota and Wisconsin and Iowa should have more say in an election than California and New York.
Right.
They just shouldn't.
I agree with that.
There's more people in those 2 states. And so the Electoral College needs to go. Should it go by the popular vote? I have to dig more into it. As of right now, I'm not opposed to that. I do recognize that as being a member of the 13% of the population, we don't have a ton of control. So if it did go to the popular vote, we might find ourselves in trouble. But the Electoral College isn't right. If anything, they need to revamp the Electoral College, because like states like California should actually have more electoral votes. Mm-hmm. They're actually underrepresented. So look, the way we vote has to change. That's the bottom line. We have to change the two-party system. That's not going to change overnight. It probably doesn't change in our lifetime. It takes millions upon millions of dollars to run for presidency. So I'm an idealist, but I'm not crazy. Like small steps because they're not going to change overnight. But how we're voting right now, it's not. It doesn't make any sense, man. It really doesn't. So it needs to change, and I hope that if Democrats can get the Senate, I hope they do make changes. I also hope that Supreme Court judges no longer are allowed to have lifetime appointments. That's horseshit. Horseshit.
That definitely has to change.
What job can you get hired for and you can never be fired ever, no matter how whack you are? And whatever job it is, let's say the highest position at a company, who the hell can get hired with just 3 years of experience? Like Amy Coney Barrett just got 3 years of being a judge, and she's on the Supreme Court. Like, there needs to be checks and balances, and those checks and balances are skewed. So, you know what, man? Throw the whole damn system out and put me in charge.
Throw it out and start from scratch. So, another question that I had for some people I was talking politics with. Do you think we will ever see someone? You think we'll ever see a president under the age of 40 in our lifetime?
So that brings me to my next point. I'm glad you asked that. I think you have to be 36 to run for president.
36. 34. Is it 34 or 36?
Whatever, it's in your 30s,
right?
Whatever the actual number. Let me just Google it real quick so I make sure I have this right. Make sure I got this right, because what I'm getting ready to say might be controversial because I mentioned it to some politicians. So you have to be at least 35 years old and be a resident of the United States for 14 years. This is going to be controversial because I've said it to politicians before, but here's the truth. One, there should be an age ceiling on how old someone's allowed to be president, because cognitive decline is real. And like, look, I always say this. I love my grandfather. I think that he is the brightest man that I know. But my grandfather is not the same man he was 30 years ago when he was like 50. He's in his 80s now. And so when you look at someone like Barack, who took office as I think at 41 or 42, look how much Barack aged in 8 years.
Yes.
That job, there should be an age ceiling on that job, on all these political jobs. That's number one. My next point is you should be allowed to run for president at 18 or whatever year you start paying taxes. Mike, if you're paying taxes, why aren't you allowed to run for office?
That I've never heard that one. Go ahead. I'm listening, bro. Go ahead.
Hold on. I ain't got no more liquor. Hold on, man. Like, I'm serious. Like, who came up with this arbitrary number that 35 is the number? Now, if anything, if there's going to be an arbitrary number, and I use arbitrary loosely in that, if we're going to say you need to have a certain level of experience or wherewithal or brain power, let it be 25. That's when your brain, according to my wife who's a clinician, that is when your brain is fully formed. Like, make it 25. But the way I feel, if you're paying taxes, you should be allowed to run for office. Now, if some idiot wants to vote in an 18-year-old, well, look, that's a whole nother set of problems, right?
Right.
But how can you tell somebody that's paying taxes that they can't run for public office? That's crazy to me.
So part of the response that I got back from that question was people didn't think that they didn't think that we would see somebody under the age of 40 be elected in our lifetime. And part of the reason why was because they felt like people are more comfortable with what they call quote unquote experience. So some people feel like certain experience comes with age. So some people feel at 35, you ain't experienced shit, which I think is not true.
I agree.
But what would you say to people who say that, going up against what you proposed at being able to run as young as 18?
Then don't vote for someone that's 18. That's the thing, right? Like, if that 18-year-old truly isn't prepared to be president, then don't vote he or she in. But
Mhm.
what we just saw was Trump, who's in his 70s, he wasn't experienced or prepared at all to be president.
Yeah.
So age in that regard didn't make any difference. The point I'm making is that if someone has to pay taxes, then they should be allowed to run for public office.
Yeah.
Or they shouldn't have to pay taxes.
This is a good point by Leon. Experience comes with opportunity. That's true. That's true.
We keep talking about like new leaders, right? Like, well, if all you're going to do is say you got to be 35 and up, and in most cases it ain't really 35, it's like 45 and up. Like, you got to give younger people an opportunity, because younger people are the ones that have to inherit this country, not somebody that's 80 years old. They're on their way out, unfortunately.
So let's flip it. What's the cutoff? What's the cutoff age to run?
Oh, run for president?
Yeah.
The average retirement age, 64. Done. You ain't running no more.
Okay.
If that's whatever the average retirement age is running into an election, that's it. You're not allowed to run.
So what I said, now I do agree that it should be a cap. I think I said that you can be of age to where you would be in your 70s at the end of your term. So
I wouldn't even go that far.
So maybe as old as 67, maybe.
Mike, how old was your father when he passed away?
67, 68.
67. I remember your dad, but obviously he's your dad. So I'm going to ask you this. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine your dad at 67 being president? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, they at the average retirement age, they need to go. They need to make room for the next generation, not only because of their age, but at 65, 66, 78, you're so far out of touch from like what's going on. You haven't been in college in 40, 50 years. You ain't really, come on. Like, you need to make room for the next folks, man.
Listen, this is always an interesting conversation for me, because I mean, I think that it needs to be some consideration to that. I mean, let's be honest. Biden is what, 77?
Yeah.
So Biden will be 81 coming out of his first term. We just elected before this in 2016. Trump was the oldest president-elect going into office. So, well, up until this time. Now, so
right.
I do think it's definitely interesting. Part of me feels like, I would kind of be leery of someone that's 35 running, but then the other part of me agrees with Leon that, experience comes with opportunity. You know what I mean? And I do think, just like we discussed, and it's a little different, right? So don't take people that's listening, don't take it as I'm comparing as on the same level, but the analogy I'm going to use is, we talk about all the time how, some of these front offices in football and basketball need some young blood to come in and change the dynamic of the sport, change the dynamic of these teams and stuff like that. I do think that needs to happen as well in politics. It might not be on as high as level as a president, but some of these, lower levels under the presidency, governor, and other things like that, I would like to see some young blood being involved. Like, honestly, the perfect example for me to express my true feeling is right here in our own state, in the city of Baltimore, with Brandon Scott. Brandon Scott is what, 36 years old?
36, youngest mayor, I think, right? Ever elected?
I think so. Now, Brandon Scott is 36 years old, so part of me feels like Baltimore is a tough place for somebody his age, right? But then part of me also feels like Baltimore needs something different. So I hope,
why not?
I hope that he succeeds, obviously, and time will tell. But I do think he would be somebody to watch if he does succeed in Baltimore during his term. But I don't know, man. It's interesting. interesting thought. And I've never heard, even in having that conversation, I had never heard someone say what you said, which as long as once you start paying taxes, you should be eligible to run.
Right. Why can't you? You funding the system. So here's my thing. Someone like AOC, right? She's 31 years old. The wonderful part about her being so young is that when she ran and won her congressional seat, she was a waitress. So when she had to move from the Bronx to DC, she couldn't even afford to make the move. She had to wait for her first congressional check to be able to afford DC, right? Like, so she experienced like real hardship. When you start getting to your 40s, 50s, and these politicians that are running, they haven't experienced hardship. Like, you need people who know what it's like to be on the ground. And Trump does not know what it's like to be on the ground. And so if you have to pay into the system, you should be allowed to run. Like, and then let the people decide. If the people, like in North Carolina a handful of years ago, when D's nuts got some votes, if you want to elect D's nuts to be your mayor, well, look, then Raleigh and Goldsboro, they got their own sets of issues. But my point is, you should be allowed to run, because all we've done now is monopolize who's allowed to run for office, and it's people who have the right connections, who come from families of privilege, and that's not fair.
All valid points, man. Hey, has there been any updates since we've been on? Anything closed, Joe? Like
nothing's closed. I mean, so Biden is still up 15,000 in Pennsylvania. He's up 4,000 in Georgia. So his Georgia lead has gotten bigger. He was only up 1,000 in Georgia, so he's up 4,000 in Georgia now. He's up 40,000 in Arizona. Nevada still hasn't called it yet. It's taking forever, man. So hopefully we get an answer soon. Tell you what.
So what do you say to this? There is a feel that the Democratic Party isn't quite feeling, or they want to. I'm not gonna say they're not feeling her, but they want to temper. What's her name?
AOC.
AOC, yeah. There is a sense that they want to kind of temper her down sometimes.
They do. Here's the truth, Mike. The Republicans are on the right. The majority of the current Democratic Party aren't really left. They're really in the center. I was having this argument with somebody earlier. Even Barack is more of a centrist. Like, they're more center. And what people like AOC is saying is, you've got to stop catering to racist, to bigots, to sexist. Like, you can move more left. And that's they are afraid to do that. And look, 12 years ago, the Tea Party popped up and Republicans went like far right. And eventually we got Donald Trump. And even now, even though he's going to lose, he's got 69 million votes out of popular vote. Like, Democrats have to make a decision. Are they going to keep being the centrist party, or are they going to adopt more ideas from people who are younger and more from the left? And look, I understand why Biden needs to be centrist right now. We needed a centrist person to win this election. I get it. But just moving forward, you can't keep allowing these. We are in this situation because you keep pandering to racist. And I can't be more clear about that. Stop pandering to racist. I don't care about their feelings. I do not care. People like AOC have great ideas. Andrew Yang has great ideas. Bring these people in the fold. Or otherwise, you might as well just say that everybody's in the same party together and they really don't want change.
All good points, man. Listen, I feel like politics is one of those things that it can be some wrong answers, but I mean, it's all your thoughts, it's all what you feel, it's all what it's all your opinion. So, you know what they say, sometimes opinions are like assholes. We all have one. but I think that sometimes turns into interesting debate when you discuss things like this. And I think 2020 You know what? Going back to 2016, right? I do think, even going further back than that, 2012, I do think that politics after Barack's second term had lost some luster, right? So I think going into Barack's first term, I think everybody was amped up. It was something different. Here's this young guy, black guy, new energy. He gets in, he wins a second term, and then I think politics kind of lost that feel, kind of lost that luster, kind of lost people being interested in it. And then that went into 2016. I think it lost interest then as well. And I think that's part of why it turned out the way that it was. Because it was people get complacent, so they get used to one thing, and then it's like, we need something different. And I think that's kind of what it was with Barack. Now, Barack deserved to get there, but I think we were ready then, right, to see a black man as a president, because I always went into, even then with him running, never thought that I would see a black man as president in my lifetime. Never thought I would see it. I also never thought that I would see a reality show as a reality show host as a president either. I think 2020 and all of this mess that's going on now has kind of brought back people's interest in politics. And I hope that it brought it back to the point where people are keeping a closer eye, like you said, locally, and all of these other things. So we'll see, man. 2020 has just been one of those years. The election couldn't have picked a better year for this shit to be involved in or come around in. So we'll see, man. We'll see. Yeah, everybody got good points, so we'll see.
It's been crazy. I've been watching a ton of this stuff on TV and on the internet since Tuesday. So let's see if we can get some answers tonight, man. But I'm glad we were able to jump on and chat through all of this stuff. Hopefully we can get the fellas together tomorrow
and
talk about it. Yeah.
We'll jump on. This is actually our first political episode, man.
Mm-hmm.
We usually don't touch that. We usually don't touch this type thing, but it needs to be talked about, man. It's there's a sense that, we are a show of 4 black men, and there is a sense that, even though it's just the 2 of us, but there's a sense that black people and black men in general don't really give a shit about politics, and I think that's false. So I think that it was important and good for us to come on and share our thoughts about it, because we actually do, and we do pay attention to it. We pay close attention to what's going on. So I'm glad we did this. I hope everybody enjoyed that. I see we got a couple people in the chat still chatting it up with us. My man Leon Daoud. Shout out to the liquor spot, the ladies at the liquor spot. Shout out to them doing their thing. Who else in here?
That's it right now.
That's all I can see. So what you got, man? Anything in closing?
Nah, Biden 2020. Get the win. Let's end it, man.
So is it all right? So I mean, do you? Last question: are you afraid to say it's over, yo? Do you think there can still be some bullshit that'll flip this, or do you think it's over?
No, I think it's over. I mean, you got to still go through counting the rest of the votes, but I think it's over. I do, and Trump wouldn't be behaving the way he was if he didn't think it was over too. It's over.
Yeah. Well, in closing, I ain't got much this time either, man. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Check us out tomorrow, man. We should be live with OTR Sports. Check out the podcast, OTR Off the Record Podcast, and all your podcast streaming platforms. Check out our YouTube, same tag. Check us out, man. Social media and all of the stuff, all of the above, man. Thanks for checking us out. Our first political episode. Probably have a couple more, man. So y'all tune in. We'll holler at y'all.
We out.
Peace.